So what does it mean? Well, the Copa America groups are all filled out. 10 teams from CONMEBOL, 6 from CONCACAF. Herc, as a region, how do you think CONCACAF's going to fare this summer?
Oh, man. Whew.
That is good.
All right.
Optimistic.
Well, let me explain myself. So right now, the best team in CONCACAF is the U.S. men's national team. We would say that, right?
By a significant amount.
By a significant amount. All right. They don't necessarily have the best record against top 20 opposition. Let's go top 20 opposition in this tournament. You're going to have Argentina, you're going to have Brazil, you're going to have Colombia, Uruguay, and Mexico. Okay? You can beat Mexico. You have proven that. What about the other 4? Are you going to beat Uruguay in your group to get out of that and then face, pick your poison, Colombia, who's on a 20-game unbeaten streak right now, or Brazil, who just beat England, by the way, and is in this transitional phase and could be a completely different team come summer? And what about Mexico on the other side? That's a very tricky group. Venezuela, who's got a ton of talent. Ecuador, who are very young and a very good team, very tricky. And Jamaica, who is Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know what to make of them. They could be lights out or a massive disappointment. And then who else? A Costa Rica team that's on the rise, looks different, but how will they compete? Canada in Argentina's group. We could be seeing an all CONMEBOL semifinal affair if CONCACAF doesn't bring their A game.
Yeah. I would just say it's not going to go well for CONCACAF, right? I will put the U.S. kind of to a side in a separate category. You look at the other 5 teams, far from the best version of Mexico, far from the best version of Canada, far from the best version of Costa Rica, and even if they are getting a little bit younger than they've been. Jamaica could be its best version, but you saw that interview with Leon Bailey. That sounds like a national team headed for a meltdown as opposed to kind of a high watermark later this summer. Panama, you might say, of all the teams, is kind of on the nice upward trend. And then they lay a couple of eggs this weekend. They got worked by Mexico, and we just hammered Mexico. So I don't see any of the teams really as like a lock, even to get out of the group. The only team that I see as like a sure thing from CONCACAF to get out of the group is the U.S. Even Mexico in that group, I don't know that they're a lock to get out. Yeah. The only team that for me is a legit semifinal threat is the United States. And I wouldn't be surprised, Cirque, if it was 6 or 7 CONMEBOL teams in the quarterfinals.
The cross worries me for Mexico, because if you go in first place, you're gonna play Brazil or Colombia either way, first or second place. That cross worries me a lot for the U.S. men's national team. Mexico, if you can end up first place, I mean, you're talking about Canada, Chile, or Peru, and you beat one of them, you're in a semifinal. That's very, very. I think that's doable.
Say it's doable. Say it's doable. You trust this Mexican team in a knockout round game against somebody that's already gotten through a group phase? We're talking about quality opposition. That's what I'm telling you, Herc. Mexico may get out of their group.
They could lay an egg.
There's no way I'm picking them.
I'm just saying their cross is easier. And I think that's what really we need to concentrate here. You know, it's who's your opponent in that cross? And I think the U.S. men's national team is going to have a very difficult cross. Doesn't mean they're not a better team. It doesn't mean that Panama isn't a better team. It doesn't mean that Jamaica may not be more of a threat. But I think if you can get out of that group, which I think is very tricky, and people don't realize how tricky it is for Mexico, but if you can get out of that group first place, you've got a shot of making a semifinal.
Yeah, and I think CONMEBOL is going to dominate this. And I know that sounds like obvious to everybody, but if you actually go back to the beginning of U.S. and Mexico being invited into the Copa America, there was a good stretch in the 90s, early 2000s, where you'd always have at least one of them in the semifinal. Mexico played in a couple finals. I mean, that seems to me, outside again of the U.S., who could, I think, make a semifinal in this tournament, just seems to be like a total long shot for anybody.
You got to beat one of those top 20 teams, Seb. Who are they beating? Which top 20 team are they beating? And from CONMEBOL, are you going to beat Argentina? Are you going to beat Brazil? Uruguay?
Argentina and Brazil, separate category.
Who are they beating?
Colombia is the one, because Uruguay you're going to play in the group phase, so you're not playing them in a knockout round. I think the U.S. has a very good shot against Colombia
20 games unbeaten.
At home.
Did you see what they did to Spain?
Yes.
Okay.
Friendly.
Okay.
Friendly.
Okay.
Friendly.
Okay.